What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. It's time for another episode of our Advanced Player's Guide breakdown because there's so much, and really that's awesome. That means we can make even more 2E content. Archetypes. There's a lot of them in this book. There's a lot of things that I didn't think would be archetypes in this book. There's a lot of ease of access in this book. It's dumb. It's real good. There's so many of them. It was hard to pick only a few to talk about, but I do have my favorites, and we're gonna just go at them. If you're liking what you're seeing, remember to like, subscribe, and ding the bell. Patronage in any tier helps me make all these sweet videos. And hey, if you want anything from Google Sheets, where our 1E and 2E builds are, to play in this system with us, Patreon will help you do that. Or maybe you just want your name in lights at the end of the video. However many coins you have to toss at The Witcher. Are those jokes still funny? Did COVID ruin those jokes? Do you remember when we were all just laughing about The Witcher? Yeah, me too. Okay, there's a lot to unpack. Let's dive in. Okay, so in addition to 4 new multi-class archetypes for the Investigator, Oracle, Swashbuckler, and Witch, we're looking at 38 new archetypes for everybody. Some of these are really powerful. Some of these are just thematic. Some of these will see a lot more mileage in different games. But I suppose that's just chalk one up to the second edition, like, mechanics. It's very easy to, here's the flavor you want, make this go, and done, roll it out. First things first, the honorable mention, you knew we would talk about it. Alongside every core rulebook prestige class that wasn't rolled into like a rogue racket, the Dragon Disciple appears as an archetype. For its access, you need to be a kobold with the dragon scaled or spell scaled heritage. Yeah, we gotta make videos about them too, don't we? Ancestry Anthology, go! A dragon instinct barbarian or a draconic bloodline sorcerer. This archetype has some differences between the sorcerer's draconic bloodline, but the big one is that it's not a multi-class archetype. You're not counting your level as half your sorcerer level for the purposes of qualifying for feats, and therefore someone could, at level 2, archetype into sorcerer, grab another feat, and then archetype out into Dragon Disciple to have access to some things faster. It also helps a lot if, again, you were only multi-classing sorcerer for dragon thing, but you don't want to mess with spells. You still want to be that big angry dude casting greatsword. Now for the ones that actually strike my fancy, first up, the Eldritch Archer. Not only does this show us what the Magus of 2nd edition might look like with Eldritch Shot for 3 actions, you're wielding a bow, you cast a spell that takes 1 or 2 actions to cast and requires a spell attack roll. The effects of the spell do not occur immediately, but are imbued into the bow you're wielding. Make a strike with that bow. Your spell flies with the ammunition, using your attack roll result to determine the effects of both. This counts as 2 attacks for your multiple attack penalty, but you don't apply the penalty until after you've completed both. This helps things like the wizard who wanted to do Magus things make sure all of his attacks are connecting, because there's no multiple attack penalty from, like, well, I guess I'll Ray of Frost and then sword you or something. The Eldritch Archer dedication also gets the ability to cast spontaneous spells and gets to cast a spell activity from a spell list of its choice. This is why we are not calling it the Arcane Archer, so we don't have to like cry later and make a divine only archetype and put it in a blog. That I appreciated. Thank you, Paizo. Want to be the woodsy druid guy with a seed in his hand who turns it into a bow and just yeets brambles at people that also shock people when you do that? Yeah, there it is. Bam. I love it. To say nothing of all the other crazy stuff you have going on within this archetype that it did across 3.5 in the form of the Arcane Archer, getting free magic arrows, arrows that go through walls and around corners. I'm not sure if the Arrow of Death for 3 actions on a hit you deal 10d10 precision damage. On a crit, it's a saver die. I'm not sure if that's the way to beat Tree Razor, but it at least looks really good. That one attack from a legendary archer, or even just a master archer, cranking out a bunch of damage on the end of an oath bow with arrows that do scary stuff. At the very least, that will hurt. Next up, immediately right up from it the duelist, who got the thing that the Cavalier had. The Cavalier does appear in this book, and I'm very happy about that, but the reason I liked it so much was because of its challenge, which is now put on the duelist. For one action with the open trait, select one foe you can see and proclaim a challenge. That foe is your dueling opponent until they are defeated, flee, or the encounter ends, anytime you hit them using a single, one-handed melee weapon, while your other hand or hands are free. You gain a circumstance bonus to the strike's damage equal to the number of damage dice your weapon deals. If you attack a creature other than your opponent, it's a debuff. More damage, more dead. Easy peasy. This archetype also has access to a bunch of feats from the core rulebook. Again, maybe you didn't want to have to be a fighter for dueling parry. Now they're all just packed in here, which is really convenient, and it means you have to archetype around less. Next up, the Scout. It's been a lot of things throughout D&D, from a not rogue in 3.5 to a rogue archetype in P1 to now something that is just the fleet warrior we always wanted. Scouts charge for 2 actions, pick an enemy, stride, feint, and then strike them. For your feint, you can stealth instead of deception because you use the terrain around you, because you're now monostatted away from charisma. You've also got 3 actions for the price of 2, which is nuts. To say nothing of eventually Scouts Pounce. Stride up to your speed, then strike twice. If you were hidden or unnoticed by the target of these strikes, your foe is flat-footed against both. Your foe took sneak attack from both. Oops, your multiple attack penalty applies normally. It's still 3 actions for the price of 2, which lets you presumably open up the combat the way you specifically wanted to. Next, it's the Viking, which was a fighter archetype in 1E, so fair enough, I guess. Now, this one is obviously going to have a lot of stuff in it that's very situational, very good on a boat or in shallow water, but honestly what I like about it the most is second shield. Honestly, you would probably retrain out of this when your legendary crafter is sneezing out new shields for you. When your shield block causes your shield to break or be destroyed, you interact to draw a shield on your person or an unattended shield within your reach. Not the worst thing ever if you're carrying that second shield around or there are shields strapped to the side of your longship. But what I like about it is if there is an object within your reach that could serve as an improvised shield, think like a table or a chair, you can draw that instead. The GM determines if something can be used as an improvised shield. It isn't raised until you raise a shield, of course, but it keeps the damage off you in longer combats, and frankly, breaks a lot of things you don't care about, unless you were really into that chair. I'm sorry, man, that sucks. But sometimes battles are like that. Sometimes sieges are like that. Sometimes you're going to be stuck behind the walls and you won't always be able to find a shield or have somebody fix your shield or have the downtime to do so. So sometimes you just got to grab like whatever's at hand. Doubly true in games where there will be plot arcs that might send you to prison or to a lost jungle island somewhere, or so on and so forth, where all you'll be surrounded by is, in fact, improvised weapons. Enter the final archetype I want to talk about today, the Weapon Improviser. You got to be trained in all martial weapons to take this dedication, so there is kind of a gate here. With that in mind, removing that -2 to attack rolls with improvised weapons and getting up to, in some cases, legendary proficiency with improvised weapons could be really good if your fighter is going to be bereft of their favorite sword for a portion of the campaign where you think there might still be some violence happening. This also ticks up in such a way that you're getting extra damage dice and item bonuses with your chair leg or whatever it is you're beating them with. And with Shattering Strike, since indeed there are a bunch of feats within this that will cause your weapon to break, oops, doing extra piercing damage. Is this the most amazing thing in the world? No. Again, there are going to be some times where you might just level into this, and then when you're done with that part of the story, retrain out when it's no longer important for your character to remember how to, like, make a shiv out of something. But that's all the time we have for this one. What do you think? Are we enjoying it? Are we having fun? Which of these archetypes are you the most jazzed about? Let me know in the comments, and we will be back at it next time for more stuff from the Advanced Player's Guide. Holy crap, there's so much. We'll see you then.